Geico presents Our Town, Season 2, a 30-minute podcast produced by Best Bark Communications, a small but fierce client-centered marketing company powered by decades of experience and well-established business networks. Geico, 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance. Now, here's your host, Andy Ockershausen.
This is Andy Ockershausen. This is Our Town. And we have a special delight to have a guest that has made such an impact on the greater Washington area at both Home Team Sports, Comcast SportsNet, and now with MASN. We'll get into that later. But right now I'm going to say hello to Jimmy Cuddihy, the man from New York who took over Washington by storm.
Great to be with you, Andy. One of my heroes since I moved here to D.C. in 2001.
I love your story. When you first arrived in the city, your wife and your two little children at the time got lost and ended up going by Georgetown Prep.
You know, it's
the hated rival of the Gonzaga Eagles at this point.
It's kind of ironic, right? My little guy's like 5 years old, and we're looking for houses. It's the first time they moved down. I already been here a couple months, and we see this beautiful campus, and we pull in, and there's a rugby game going on. I played, I coached, I love the sport.
That's your life.
I take a picture with my son, and the ball's like half as big as him, right? And he goes to school. They do a Father's Day present where they do cardboard cutouts of tools.
Right.
And he cuts out a saw, and he puts the picture in there, and he writes, "To the best dad I ever saw."
He's 5 years old?
And to this day, I still have that in my office. And he turned out to be a fantastic rugby player at Gonzaga High School, and now the captain of St. Joe's University rugby team. So it was ironic that young of an age,
Jimmy,
he turns
it's
out
all
to be that guy.
due to his experience at Georgetown Prep.
That's right.
The prep
He wouldn't want to hear that. The Gonzaga guy wouldn't want to hear that, but you're right.
But your career has been in broadcasting, but you grew up in New York City, and I love to hear you telling stories about the guys you grew up with all became an important part of the city. Cops, firemen, workers, whatever they did, and you moved on, but you grew up in that atmosphere.
Yeah, and those
Manhattan.
guys and those guys are still my best friends. We grew up in a neighborhood, really one of the only communities in New York City called Stuyvesant Town.
Oh, I know it quite well.
Yeah, it's on the Lower East Side from 14th Street and First Avenue to 23rd Street.
High rises, and they built them in the 50s for the returning war veterans. Correct,
right?
I remember.
So this kind of neighborhood, you would run home from school, drop your book bag down, and you'd go right out and play to 6 or 6:30 till it was dark. And sometimes your mother would open up the window.
Parks and recreation on site, correct?
We had 15 playgrounds, and every playground had a specialty.
Was that a project of an insurance company? Was that Metropolitan Life?
Yeah, MetLife owned it, yes. That's right. That's right.
I know a lot about it because my brother-in-law was a firefighter. He's a fireman then. After the war, when he came back, there was no place to live. They lived someplace at Floyd Bennett Field.
Yeah, right.
There's little Quonset huts out there. They couldn't find a place.
Stuyvesant Town is rent-controlled, and my parents moved into a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in 1981. I'm the oldest of 5. And
81 was late. That thing was built in the 40s.
It was in the 40s. You're right. Still no air conditioning at that point. And my parents still were in that same apartment. And if I told you what they were paying for rent, there'd be a lot of people would be jealous because of the rent control.
Yeah. But I know you told me the story about taking your dad to the Super Bowl. Where'd you take him, to New Orleans?
Yeah. So if you know, as a bucket list thing, which I don't have a bucket list, but I'm checking these two off. I was fortunate enough to get 2 tickets to the Super Bowl. It was about 6 or 7 years ago. And
the Ravens.
It was they ended up playing the Patriots. Right. So I get these 2 tickets. They beat the Packers in the NFC Championship game. I FedEx to my dad's office a note, and I said, "Dad, come and watch me. Come and watch with me as the Giants beat the perfect team."
How do you believe that?
50-yard line, 20 rows up behind the Giants bench. If you walked into that empty stadium and said, "Give me 2 seats," we would have taken those 2 seats. That's what a great experience it was.
For your dad, particularly?
For my dad. And then 5 years later, I took my son when the Giants beat the Patriots again in Indianapolis. So I'm done. Like, my bucket list is complete.
I said to somebody when they made the miracle reception, that's getting even for the Giants. The guy caught the ball on his head.
That's right. Tyree. That was David Tyree.
You were there, weren't you?
I was there for that one, yes.
And your dad was thrilled. That's a great thing to do.
And I was at the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago, so I saw that other miracle reception you're talking about to Edelman.
Did you ever pay for a ticket?
That's like asking. That's like asking if you were paid for a meal in Washington D.C.
I never do.
How dare you?
I never paid. I've been to 5 or 6 Super Bowls. I never bought a ticket.
I always have friends who help me out.
You know how to do it. Well, Jimmy, let's get back to New York now. You went to Xavier High School in the city, a very famous Jesuit school in the city.
Yeah, Xavier High School on 16th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue. And again, those guys, I have 2 sets of friends. One's from the neighborhood of Stuyvesant Town, who are still my best friends. And then the guys who I played sports with at Xavier High School, I played soccer and rugby, and I played football 1 year as a kicker, and we played intramural together. Those guys are still my best friends, and call our kids call each other's friends by uncle and aunt and all
almost
that
like
stuff.
the Dead End Kids of movie thing.
A lot of guys from Flatbush, a lot of guys from Bay Ridge I hung out with. We traveled all around the world for soccer and rugby. We were in Barbados, we were in Hawaii, we were in Canada.
This was you're in school?
This was when we were between freshman year of high school.
Wow.
Went to Manchester to play soccer as a 13 or 14-year-old kid. And then as a rugby player, our last tour was to Hawaii. That year we won the national championship. That was 1985. So yeah, those guys are still my best friends. They really are.
Well, how did you transfer? I don't know, that's a bad word. Transit from being a high school, and you went to college.
Yeah. So
you didn't go to St. Joe's.
I didn't. No, I went to Connecticut College for 2 years.
Right.
I was going to play soccer. The coach who recruited me.
You were a soccer bum.
I got a university scholarship. It was a Division III school. I think they gave me like $4,000 or $5,000 for the first year to go there. And so I go there to play soccer. I go to 2 practices, and there are 2-a-days. And they were tough. They were tough. There were some good players over there, and I enjoyed it. But one day we're at practice, and I look over on the campus to another field, and I see all these guys huddling around a tree. It was like a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, and I'm sweating. I'm like dead from practice. And I look at those guys. I'm like, what the hell are those guys doing over there? And I look further. I get up closer, and they're huddled around the keg. I'm like, what the? And somebody said, that's the rugby team. I said, they got a rugby team here? I called my father. Next day, said, Dad, I'm done with soccer. Bang.
Rugby.
Went to play. And he's like, you're giving up your sky. Yeah, I said, Dad, yeah, I love rugby. Got to do it. So I did. So
you switched.
I switched sports, and I was a starter on the team, and played there 2 years, and was the backs captain my second year. And then I transferred to Syracuse University, and because of a major. They didn't have communications as a major at Connecticut College. I tried to create my own, but they wouldn't go for it. So I transferred and stayed at Syracuse, and had a great 2 years at Syracuse.
Great school, of course, with a lot of famous grads. We were just talking about that. How did you transfer from your sports career into this wonderful world of originally broadcasting, correct?
Yeah, well,
with the station in New York City, the TV station.
Yeah, so I did. I was an intern at Fox 5 in New York City. I was on the assignment desk for the news shows, and
WNEW TV.
Yeah, right, famous station, right? Yeah, but before that, I got my first internship was at Syracuse. I arrived on campus. I go to a seminar, and there's probably 150 kids at this big seminar. I hadn't been into a class like that big of a size, and the guy's
kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah, a guy's giving a lecture, and I was like, man, that guy's a student. I know he's a student. So a student was giving a lecture. And I go down to him and talk to him afterwards, and it's Mike Tirico. And I said, Mike, I really enjoyed that. I'm just new on campus. I'd like to get an internship. Well, he's the weekend anchor as a student on the CBS affiliate in Syracuse.
Wow.
WTVH. He was a weekend anchor, I believe, as a junior. And he hired me.
Polished.
He was great.
He was
back
polished
then.
when he was a kid.
We all knew how good he was going to be.
Right.
So I worked for him for 2 years on the weekend at WTVH CBS in Syracuse. Great experience. Got me thinking about production, because when you're a kid and you go to Syracuse and you want broadcast journalism, the thing that you only know about is that you want to be on the air. You want to be on the air.
Absolutely.
But it was there working with Tirico and there working behind the scenes that I knew that I didn't really have it in me to be on the air. I didn't really want to be on the air. I wanted to be behind the scenes and be a producer. And that's what I ended up doing. That's how I started.
You didn't have a lot of talent, Jim. That's awesome.
Oh, looks. I know the talent of looks, I know.
But Tirico started as a kid. I know his story, and now he's going to do the Olympics he's replacing Bob Costas.
Amazing story.
That's as big as you get.
Guy from Queens, just worked hard, is one of the best play-by-play guys you'll ever hear. And I was really happy for him. When you mentioned it, you saw him on the Today Show the other day when they passed the torch.
Great. Yeah. Really doing great.
One Syracuse guy to another. Yeah.
Well, Jimmy, but then you went into commercial broadcasting and then worked for the New York station. Yeah. And then at one point you transferred to Philadelphia, obviously, for a job.
1989, you're a kid out of school. You're waiting tables. You're looking for your first job. And this is, it's amazing that this happened to me. I went to my high school, Xavier High School, and they were going to hire me as rugby coach, soccer coach, and phys ed teacher. Dream job. Could walk to school, summers off, bartend, would have made tons of money. All my friends were still there. All my friends were like cops and firemen or working on Wall Street. It was like a dream job. The same day, I get offered a job at KYW TV in Philadelphia.
Right. To be the CBS affiliate?
Back then it was NBC when I first got there, and then they transferred to CBS.
There was a swap. I remember that.
Yeah, I was there for the swap. So that day, I get offered the job in Philadelphia to be a production assistant on the Randall Cunningham show. Randall was a quarterback for the Eagles.
Oh, I know. Number 12.
He had a half hour. He was going to launch a half-hour entertainment show Saturday nights, and the job paid $6 an hour, and it was only good from July through December.
Right. The season.
So I sit with my parents in the living room at this 5-bedroom apartment that they're still in, and like they're saying, "Well, are you getting benefits?" I said, "No." I said, "How much are you making?" $6 an hour. They said, "Well, you're getting this other job where you're going to be a phys ed teacher. You're going to get benefits and this great salary." I said, "It's a no-brainer." I said, "Yeah, you're right." I said, "I'm going to Philadelphia. This is what you pay for. This is why I'm going to college. This is what I want to do," and I did it. It was just that was my dream, to be in television.
Well, your father was way ahead of his time, and I'm going to come back and talk about that, about the fact that you had somebody giving you that great advice, and then you went to the top, and I mean that, Jimmy. You went right to the top. So we'll be right back and talk to Jim Cuddihy about his illustrious career. This is Andy Ockershausen, and this is Our Town.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Well, honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to Our Town.
Hi, this is Andy Ockershausen. This is Our Town, and we're talking to James Cuddihy, the New York Flash that ends up as the Philadelphia Flash. Because I met Jim when he came to the cable world, at least the cable world that I was in, called as Home Team Sports. It was just transition.
Yeah.
And Jim had been with Comcast in Philadelphia.
That's right.
Came down to our station here in Washington.
Home Team Sports was an icon in the regional sports network industry. What a great facility they had. They were just famous for doing coverage of great production of baseball games and programming.
Do you know the story when they were building that stadium? Edward Bennett Williams and Larry Lucchino was the point man. They used Bill Brown.
Yeah,
from
I know who Bill
the Fox Bill to set that stadium up for the TV studio.
That's
almost.
Right. Yeah, no.
And you inherited that.
I did.
And exploited it.
And you told me I screwed it up. Yeah, we rebranded as Comcast SportsNet.
No, we were hot. We were hot then with the Orioles. The Orioles were our team, even though they weren't in our town. We had no other baseball, but we had the Caps and the Wiz.
That's right.
But the Orioles were special.
And then we had the ACC too.
Oh God!
When I first got there, yeah.
And you got us the Big East. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. And I got you the Redskins and Ravens too.
Absolutely.
Those are deals
so
I
much
do when I was there.
going in our company, and still do. But Jim, you were there and started in the early 2001, right?
I got there in January 2001. That's where I met you. I think one of the first things that we did was I didn't know I was staying. I was there consulting for helping Comcast SportsNet transition.
Right.
And then the guy who was the GM down there asked me if I wanted to stay full time, and I forget if it was you and Schuster and Bowden, but you took me to some clothing stores so I could buy some clothes and suits because I didn't have any.
Jennifer, we all wanted you to stay. How about all the sales department wanted you to stay because even though you were the production production was always an enemy of sales, for no reason. But you were so helpful to the sales department.
You know what?
We loved it.
We had these. The name of that store was Britches, by the way. If you remember Britches at Georgetown, that's right. They served wine and cheese. I remember that because I hadn't been to the store. It was like try on these suits and have some wine and cheese. It was fabulous.
It's a long way from Philadelphia.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. You know what? I always felt like. I think one of the biggest problems with people in the industry is called communications. And the biggest complaint is that people don't communicate.
They don't talk. That is still true today.
So what I wanted to do when I got there was include all the departments in almost every meeting we had. And we had this thing called Tuesdays at 2 where I would have the operations,
I remember
the engineering,
that. It was so great.
the sales, because everything that was on the air, every show we did, every piece we did, some of it could have been sponsored, some couldn't have been. There were live shots. So we had to integrate everybody in so they kind of understood the other departments, which I don't think had taken place there. And then we gave the sales guys opportunities because that was it. I mean, we could produce programming, but you got to sell it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you're right. We did include the sales guys a lot, and I love working with Jeff Wagner, and Jennifer,
and
Bowden, and yourself,
Drew Mill,
and Eric Schuster.
Eric?
Yeah.
We love Schuster. But Jimmy, you
do a whole
brought
show
so much activism to the programming department.
Yeah.
And we were active, and the Orioles were great, and we were great. And then things fell apart for Comcast to a point where losing the Orioles wasn't a death blow, but it was really a blow emotionally, too. You know, we love baseball, these employees did, and doing the Orioles all those years was so important to us. And then one day they decided to start their own network,
and that's been the trend, right? It's either that teams are starting their own networks or they're getting a big piece of the regional sports network. That's what's happening all over.
That's what Comcast just did. Comcast SportsNet bounded with the Ted Leone.
That's right.
And they have an organization now.
Right.
But MASN stands alone. And now, in your career with MASN has been fabulous. And I think that's been so important to our town, to have MASN, to watch the games, to be an important part of even though the Orioles are away, they're important to us. And now we have a Nats, we have a baseball team. Yeah,
nothing's more important to a regional sports network than the live events that they offer.
Oh, it is, Jimmy. It's a lifeblood.
Then the second thing is the ancillary program, the pregame, postgame, and the other shows. And we're really fortunate to have the Nats and the Orioles on our network.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, Jimmy.
Yeah, and what we decided to do in the beginning was not to do a news operation, but really just focus on those two teams and drive as much revenues as possible to the teams.
Well, it's been a great, the strategy's been fabulous. And the thing that we're so close, Jimmy, so many times to having two teams in the leagues in the baseball playoff. I mean, everybody I know that loves baseball wants the Orioles and the Nats to be in the World Series.
It's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. 3 of the last 5 years, both teams have been in the playoffs, and
good teams too.
Right, and unfortunately, the Nats haven't gotten out of the first round yet, but they will. Their pitching is way too good for them to be held down. And the Orioles' offense and bullpen is spectacular.
Incredible.
So yeah, you're going to see it. You will see the Nats and the Orioles in the World Series at some point.
I would, and I hope we live long enough to see it. What I love is the two stadiums are baseball stadiums.
That's right.
They're built for baseball, and it's so important. Remember, because at one time they were two stadiums. One was Memorial and Old Griffith Stadium. They were a mess.
Camden Yards is still, and it was voted again this year, the best baseball experience in the country.
It is. It's incredible.
It's what they did back then was incredible. And my office is on the right field foul pole, looking right into the stadium, so I get to see it every day.
You do have an office? Is that?
No, I still have an office. Right on the right field foul pole. Right on the right field foul pole. And I tell you what, those people at that stadium, they're working 365 a year. Every day I see people, grounds crews, working on the field. I see the guys cleaning up and painting and cleaning the chairs off, even in the winter.
It's a year-round job. That is great.
And that's why the stadium looks beautiful.
And then you have events there and off events. We don't quite have that yet in Washington, but I know the learners want it.
Oh, it's coming.
They're working at it.
It's coming. Nats do a great job with concerts and shows. I've been to a number of concerts there. The atmosphere around the ballpark is so much better. It's a great Washingtonian crowd. I love going down. One of my favorite parts of going to a Nats game is going to that tailgate area, the fairgrounds, in the center field area of the stadium, that's just alive. And then the people come in and have just as good as time.
I've been to a couple of your parties there. Remember the bullpen party at and that at Memorial? That was at Camden Yards.
Yeah,
that was so different, Jim.
I loved it. I was there one year.
I know you know what that is.
Yeah.
We're going to take another break here. We've been talking about MASN and all the good things that Jim has done and continue to do with two teams. That's great. That's like lifeblood. We'll be back here on Our Town. It's Andy Ockershausen.
Are you still promising yourself or your spouse to get your will updated and a good basic estate plan in place? Are you finally ready to make sure you don't leave a mess behind for your family to clean up? Give me just 2 hours and I'll show you how. I'm attorney Mike Collins, host of radio's Legally Speaking show. Come to my seminar and I'll teach you what you need to know about wills, trusts, taxes, probate, how to keep your money in your family. Register now at MikeCollins.com and I'll even waive the tuition. That's MikeCollins.com.
Hi, Tony Sybil here to tell you about Tony and Joe's and Nick's Riverside Grill at Washington Harbor in Georgetown. Spectacular new restaurants. We've spent a lot of time rebuilding. You'll love it. It's really fantastic. For any information, you can go online to TonyandJoes.com. It'll be a wonderful experience for the whole family. Call 202-944-4545 to make reservations. Everything is fabulous. You've got to come down and have some wonderful food.
You're listening to Our Town with Andy Ockershausen. Brought to you by Best Bark Communications.
Talking to Jim Cuddihy, the man who's in charge of MASN for baseball. And I make you in charge.
Put it that way. Yeah.
He shares. He's got money. Jimmy, I'm so proud of what you have done and what MASN has done.
Thank you.
And the future is nothing but looking so great for both our town and Baltimore. And like we hope someday we get a World Series.
Yeah, like I said, we're going to get it because the teams are so good. The pitching, I mean, tell me a better pitching staff than the Nats have. I mean, the Cubs. I mean, they're equal. And I think they made a great offseason move to get Adam Eaton.
I do too.
The Nats are doing things right.
Well, the other thing we love about your MASN feed is Johnny Holiday.
The best. We
love Johnny.
The best.
You know, he started here at WMAL many years ago, and he's a DJ. You know, he was a great
New York DJ, New York City DJ too as well.
Absolutely, he's a great guy.
I'll tell you a little story about Johnny. When I first went to MASN, and it was like 2005.
Well, you had talked to him a couple of times when you were at.
That's right. When I was at Comcast SportsNet, and a new ball club in town, the Nats. The first year when they were on MASN and only a few people were able to watch them, they didn't have pregame and postgame shows back then.
I know that.
When I got in, we started doing the pregame and the postgame and the magazine shows and all those kind of things for the ball club. And we had to pick somebody to anchor this. Now, at that time, neither team was doing particularly well with their records. And the Nats were new in town.
Slow start.
What I wanted to do was make the Nats fans feel very comfortable with the team and the club. But they had no history. So get a face like Johnny. Everybody knows him. I know he's associated with Maryland, but people would come to be compelled to like the Nats a lot because of Johnny.
Oh,
and Johnny is the communicator between the two.
A genius move.
It was just the right thing to do because he's so warm and welcoming in this town.
Absolutely. Nobody doesn't love Johnny Holiday like Sarah Lee.
You're right.
Is that correct? But Jimmy, now also you've involved your family. At least your daughter is now a fixture at Channel 9. Your little girl is now grown up.
Little girl who you've known forever.
Oh my God! What a great
been at your beach house on the sea-doos and on the boats at your beach house years and years ago.
We loved it.
Yeah.
Maddie was such an important part of knowing her and knowing Thomas. Of course, Thomas has turned into a giant.
Yes.
Was he 6'4"?
He's almost 6'4". He's about 220. He's captain of the rugby team at St. Joe's. Yeah, he's got long strides. He's a very good. He
had a great career in high school in rugby, correct?
He was part of the first team to win a national championship in rugby for Gonzaga.
High school.
They've been around, I think, since 1986, and they've never won a national championship, even though they were good enough to do it.
100 years too, you know.
And
I grew up in Northeast. I know Gonzaga.
Yeah, and as a senior, he walked off the field a national champion, and I was privileged enough to help coach that team.
You were
was my
not
first
head
year.
coach, but you were.
No, I was the backs coach and the back three.
And now
coach,
he's
yes.
at St. Joseph, and they've won. And you traveled, Jimmy. That's something. You've milked it again.
He's
You've been to Chile.
I have. I've been to Italy, Chile, and Spain, and he's going to Bermuda in 2 weeks to play. He's been all around. He's been to Portugal, Uruguay, Spain. He's been everywhere.
Wow.
Rugby. It's hard to get great games in the United States because there's some very good teams, but you have to travel to get great games, and we have to travel all around the world to get the competition we need to be able to play the standard we want.
And Thomas goes, of course.
Since he was a sophomore.
When will he graduate from St. Joe?
About
year?
15 months. Yeah.
Jimmy, does he have a future in pro rugby? Is there a pro sport?
There are some pro leagues out there. He's good enough to do it.
Did he play anything else? Did he play lacrosse or? He
played baseball, and when he was in 7th grade, I said to him,
he's a good athlete.
Yeah, he was a good athlete. He was playing baseball. He was a good baseball player. And I said, look, you want to keep playing baseball or do you want to try rugby? Can't do both. Your mom can't drive you to both, so pick one.
Right.
He picked rugby and he's never turned back.
Right.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves the sport. The sport's been very good to our family.
He has good marks. He's getting through school.
Yes, he actually does. He actually is. And he wants to get into communications. He's a business marketing major as well.
Right. Would you take him some advice from somebody that knows?
Please,
my wife.
Tell me. Janice does know.
Get out of broadcasting and don't study in school. Study history, study geography, do civics. Get away from sports and get a broad education. It's probably late for him now.
What about sales? You made a lot of money in sales.
Yeah, but sales is
Look
great.
I've been to a couple of your houses.
Well, does he want to be in sales?
I think he would be good at it.
Well, that's where the money is.
Yeah.
One of my great stories of all time was the guy I worked for here. I said I wanted to be a broadcaster and do sports play-by-play. He said, "There's no money. The money is in sales.
That's right.
And if you're play-by-play, they can fire you tomorrow and get another one. But good salesmen are hard to find."
You made a great career out of it.
I did. I just milked.
How many stations have you run in this market? 4 or 5?
4.
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful life, and we still are. And thanks to Janice, we started this thing, Jimmy. We have been so successful in bringing back the past, because the past is prologue. I tell all our young people that. You learn from the past.
Very important. No, it's very important.
Jimmy,
what you guys are doing is very important.
Unbelievable.
It's been fun. It's been absolutely fun. I tell kids all the time, interns who come into my office, people who want to get into the bit. I said, when you wake up in the morning, you better want to go to work. Figure that out.
Jimmy,
do something that you love.
You're so fortunate because you're so true, and your wife is fortunate to put up with your stuff too. She's a wonderful girl.
Look who's talking.
To you too, bro.
Look who's talking.
You got 2 wonderful kids and a great wife.
Thank you, Andy.
And the thing is, I feel as you do. No matter what it is, no matter how bad it is, I get up in the morning and say, man, what a great day coming.
Nobody's been more welcoming to Krista and I and our family besides you and Janice. Since we moved here in 2001, you're some of our best friends. Some of the best times we've had have been at your river house, or should I say river houses, because now you have 2 of them down there, and being out on the boat and doing crabs and being on the sea-doos. Yeah, we had Henry. Have you had Henry on the show yet?
Oh, yeah, he's been on. He brought his unicorn and played for us.
I got to download that one.
This has been Andy Ockershausen. I've been talking to Jim Cuddihy, a very, very important man in our community and important to all of us. And, Jim, we're so happy for you, and we'll be looking forward to the season, baby.
I hope you have me back sometime.
We love you, Jimmy.
Yeah, you too. I love you guys, too.
This is Andy Ockershausen. This is our town, and I'm so fortunate to have all these friends, and Jimmy's one of the best.
Thank you, Andy.
You've been listening to Our Town, Season 2, presented by Geico, our hometown favorite, with your host, Andy Ockershausen. New Our Town episodes are released each Tuesday and Thursday. Drop us a line with your comments or suggestions. See us on Facebook or visit our website at OurTownDC.com. Our special thanks to Ken Hunter, our technical director, and WMAL Radio in Washington, D.C. for hosting our podcast. And thanks to Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance.